Hello and welcome to Talk About Game, and it's the review of West Ham United's win. We've just beaten Karlsruher 3-0 and a German Bundesliga second division side. The side that we signed Slaven Bilic from in 1996 as well. Gonzo, that starting 11, do you think that's going to be our starting 11 for the Europa League game on Thursday?
Give or take, maybe Adrian goes in, possibly Ogbonna or Collins as centre back rather than Nordveit, but I think that's as close as we're going to see.
What's your thoughts on the starting 11, Mitch? Was there anyone you were hoping to see to start that didn't start, or the other way around, that did start, you were hoping you'd rather not see too much of tonight?
I was fairly happy with the squad, to be honest. The only one I was a bit iffy about was Valencia, mainly because of he's set to leave the club, or rumoured, pretty much set to leave the club. I would much rather have seen a striker who's definitely going to be here next season, get more involved in these sorts of games.
Well, speaking of Valencia, we've given him stick on here the last two games, but I thought he did quite well tonight. But he set up the first one, Mitch. Decent enough cross. He can cross the ball, can't he? That's one thing he can actually do. We've seen it plenty of times last season.
Yeah, he can cross the ball. Again, I think that maybe he did fluff a few chances as well. But perhaps I'm being a bit harsh because one of them was quite difficult. He sort of had to take it on the volley. But today was certainly one of his better games in this pre-season.
Gonzo, do you agree with that? Do you think Valencia played all right, or do you think he's still you're not fussed for him anymore?
He dinked it up. He hung the cross up. Was decent enough. He's full of endeavour. He's nice and quick. Unfortunately, he's missing some of the most basic of skills that a professional footballer should have, and we're looking for a 20-goal-a-season striker at the moment. In all honesty, it would probably take Valencia 4 seasons to score 20 goals. So I think him being up front was probably more reflective of the position we're in at the moment.
Gonzo, do you not think he had a slightly new role tonight, though? I thought he was maybe playing off Carroll a little bit in the centre. I don't think I've seen him play there for West Ham before. So do you think maybe Bilic is thinking I could maybe use him here, and tonight he's shown that he's maybe got potential?
No, I don't. I think Bilic is thinking I'm lacking a few players here. If what you want to do is play somebody off the striker, then you can play Lanzini, you can play Payet, you can play Faguli. I mean, we've got a lot of players that could play there, and I'll tell you what, Valencia wouldn't be in my top 5 to play behind the striker. So no, I think it was just that was the only option available to Bilic, and he did okay. But if what we want to do is improve on next season, then Valencia doesn't get in the team, or for me, the squad.
Mitch, he didn't play the last 2 games. He had a little niggle. We've wrapped him in cotton wool clearly this pre-season. It was good to see the big man get on the score sheet, albeit it was an easy enough header for him.
Yeah, it was. It's always good to see him back. I think he had a fairly good game today. Obviously, with him, there's always, whenever someone goes near him, you sort of, have to wince a little bit because you're afraid that he's going to go down injured. But he's looked in fine form. He's never had a full completed pre-season before, so hopefully he can carry on the form he ended on last season and come into the new season flying.
Do you think, Mitch, he's improving a lot since Bilic has come in? Do you think he's improved a lot with the football on the deck? He's playing nicer touches, his layoffs are getting better, he's getting sharper, do you think?
To be completely honest, I think he's always had that in his arsenal. When he was at Newcastle, when he was a bit younger, he was, he could play it along the floor, he could control the ball on the floor. I think it was just under Sam's style of play, we didn't even see him that much because of the injuries. But when we did see him, it was just big hoof crosses into the ball. He never had the chance to really prove himself on the floor.
Well, Gonzo, the last 2 shows we've been raving about Faguli. We've been saying he's looked the brighter player in the last 2 friendlies. He's done it again tonight, hasn't he? He really does look something special.
Looks an absolute bargain, to be perfectly honest with you. He's got game awareness. He plays with his head up as well. Seems to be a step ahead. Nothing is ever a surprise to him. He's going to get some goals. He's going to get some assists as well. Got a really good cross on him. It was quite interesting comparing him with Gurkan Toure, who is perhaps more a reactive player. So and better than I thought he would be, to be perfectly honest with you. Toure looks more skillful than I thought he would be, but Toure was very much looking as, as a player, I'll drag the ball away from him, and he's industrious. Toure's very industrious. I'm not sure if he plays on the left. I don't know if you remember last season, Cresswell, I'm sure you're going to get onto in a bit, would go down the left and he would overlap and receive the ball back off of Payet or Lanzini. I'm not sure how often Cresswell will get the ball back if he lends it to Toure during this season. But he was better than I thought. But if I'll put my neck on the line and say that Feghouli, who is not as industrious as him, will outscore him in terms of goals and get more assists than him. But I don't want to slag Toure off. I mean, I think he's a damn sight better than Victor Moses, that's for sure.
Well, Mitch, Feghouli didn't make it 2-0. I've seen a lot of people saying it was a good strike, but what was the keeper doing? It looked like he almost wanted it to go in, didn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't. To be honest, I thought the shot was straight at the keeper. I don't know if the keeper was sort of looking like over there or something like that, because he just sort of what seemed like an easy save at the Strand. He just sort of did like some sort of theatrical dive and just missed the ball completely. So I didn't think it was a good strike, although Feghouli did play very well. It wasn't a deserved goal, I don't think.
Well, it finished half-time 2-0. We had to wait a wee while in the second half to make it 3. I thought the second half was quite boring myself, even when we did score, and it livened up at the end, which we'll get on to in a wee minute. Gonzo, have you been impressed with what you've seen of Ashley Fletcher so far?
Yeah, I guess so. I've been lucky enough to see all the 3 games. Got the was live on Premiere or whatever it was, so it was nice to watch it in sort of HD on the telly rather than scrambling around for a stream. Yeah, I mean, he looks okay. He looks okay. But nice, smart finish today. Nice header the other day. But they're really hard. Those finishes that he did today, they're really hard where you're sort of trying to poke it in with the underside of your boot, almost with your studs. Not only did he do that, he managed to direct it away from the keeper. So he did really well today. And you know, because we went up to the kit launch, he's a big boy. It's not always easy to see on telly. He's a big lad, isn't he? So yeah, I mean, I'm quite hopeful, but I still go out and buy the striker and then just see how he develops.
Mitch, do you agree with Gonzo there? Both his finishes have been quite instinctive, would you say, where he's had to react like that, and that's what we're looking for in our marquee striker, isn't it?
I do agree. I think that maybe Fletcher will have a part to play next season, whether it be in the cups, maybe the Capital One Cup and the FA Cup. My only issue with Fletcher is that when he was at Barnsley last season, he's sort of still very young and very raw. As you mentioned the word instinctive, to me that just sort of sums up where he is at the moment. I just sort of feel as though in the big pressure moments where he has to be a bit more composed and sort of have his head in the game a bit more, he might maybe crack a little bit. So there's sort of some people are calling for, why don't we give him a shot in the first team straight away? I think that we shouldn't rush in, and we should just sort of take our time to make sure he develops properly.
Yes, Gonzo?
Well, yeah. I mean, absolutely. What Mitch says, I think in those sort of terms, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He's not jumped in the prominent position of this 20-goal-a-season striker. What he's done is he's overtaken Martinez in terms of the first young, promising player you'd go to. That's what he's done on this tour. That's why tours are so invaluable. They give these young players an opportunity to put themselves in a squad position and elevate themselves from the development squad. And I think he's done that.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's made himself the fourth striker in a way. It's not a bad place to be when you're 20 years old in the Premier League with a team that's potentially in Europa League. You're going to get a lot of game time if you stick it there. Let's talk about that tackle on Cresswell then. Mitch, is that the last player we want to see injured given the lack of options we've got?
I'm going to be probably a little bit controversial. I'm going to say I actually think if Cresswell is out for a long time, that's worse than Dimitri Payet being injured for a long time. For me, Payet's replaceable, whereas with Cresswell, he is that top-class left-back, and we don't really even have a backup left-back. So not only will that affect us in the terms of we're not going to have a proper, what I would consider a potential England left-back, and we're going to either have to gamble on one of the youth left-backs, or we're going to have to go out and use part of our transfer kit to spend on the left-back, which wasn't the plan originally. So for me, if he is out for a long time, that's pretty big.
Gonzo, was that a shocking tackle considering it's pre-season? There was, 5 minutes to go, they're 3-0 down. What's he doing?
Well, also, what's Cresswell doing? Let's be perfectly fair. I mean, I agree with pretty much everything Mitch says. I I understand what he's saying about Payet. I mean, Payet's arguably one of the top 10 players in the world. I think Cresswell is there, but I understand what Mitch is saying. If Payet's out, Lanzini can play there. You know, for Gulli, we've just spoken. We have other options that can fill that gap. We don't have a second string left. Well, and that's something we need to sort out, because that frightened us. First thing I thought when he went down, is he okay? He looks pretty injured. He was rolling around. He's a brilliant player. I love Cresswell. He's my son's favourite player as well, I should say. He's fantastic. But he shouldn't have got in for that tackle in a friendly like this. The guy was naughty. That was the same guy that had tackled and got in with his stud showing on Carroll earlier on, if you remember. Carroll had a bit of argy-bargy and started pushing him around. It was the same chap. With that in mind, in a friendly, I would have liked to have seen. He was fully committed, and it was brilliant to see Cresswell so committed in a friendly. Personally, in a friendly, probably would have pulled out from that one. So, yeah, I don't think you should have gone in for it.
I think you're being a bit harsh on Cresswell there. He went in. Well, he went in, he didn't go in fully committed, because he was on the standing upright. He put his foot in for the ball. Then our boy came flying in, stands up 2 foot, a foot off the ground. You know, the Cresswell can't expect that to happen. I think you're being a bit harsh on Cresswell.
He went in for a 50-50, and I wouldn't go in for a 50-50. And you're right, the guy did do all those things. I don't want to be harsh on Cresswell. I think he should be England's left back like Mitch. I'm not criticising him as a player. I just bear it in mind we have one left back, and that is the fault of the, you know, whatever, the squad, the development, village, whatever you want to say. We should have a strong second left back there, and we don't. And I think with that in mind, I just think you've got to be a little bit smarter, to be perfectly honest with you. He went in like it was West Ham against Tottenham, but yeah, I just would have preferred him to leave off. You know, he just got the assist, if you remember. He put the assist in for Fletcher. It was 3-0. You know, friendly, the sun's shining. You know, leave it alone, Aaron. You know, leave it alone.
Well, I agree, but I don't think you can expect someone from coming out your right-hand corner flying in like that. I don't think you can predict that's going to happen. I think you're being a bit rough there. Mitch, I was going to speak about this before that happened. That just emphasised why we should speak about this. One thing I've been impressed with Village last season was the team spirit, and I think it's come on. One thing you're always worried about when you have new players coming in and players going out is, does it affect it? It looks like it's just carried on from last season, doesn't it? And I think that argy-bargy just put the nail in the coffin and say, yeah, there's nothing wrong with the team spirit here. That's why Sacco's not here.
Yeah, I think that sort of adding on the injury bit with the team spirit, Bilic would have, you know, what I knew about Bilic when he was at Besiktas, that sort of half-time or pre-game team talk, that would have been him saying, this is your chance to prove you're good enough for the game, the Europa League game this Thursday, or the opening game against Chelsea. We could see that today of how they tried, and then also on the team spirit as well. The way that the players defended each other, and also the way that they calmed each other down, and the way they communicate on the pitch just shows that this is sort of the West Ham that we've been missing. Not only are we playing well, but we're playing as a team once more.
Well, it's time for their final question, but before we move on to the final and all-important question, just to let you know, Hammers Chat have a boat deal at the Olympic Stadium next season. There's loads of information on our forum at hammerschat.com, and there'll be lots of information coming out over the next 24 hours on how you can book your place and be there for the Juventus game. Gonzo, all-important question time. Who was your West Ham man of the match?
That's funny. It's funny. We've been doing these videos for a couple of years now, and you've just surprised me. I didn't expect you to ask it. Well, why doesn't Mitch give me his man of the match first, and then I'll buy myself 30 seconds to think about it?
No, you're answering it first, because you will just copy Mitch. Now, who's your man of the match? Faguli. Give it to Faguli. I don't know. Mitch, I hope you're slightly more decisive than that. Who's your man of the match?
I'm actually going to say Mark Noble. For me, he was very composed on the ball today. He looked like the Mark Noble of last season, which we're all praying that he can carry on that form that he showed last season. He was just very composed on the ball. He sort of seemed to dictate the play, came back deep to collect the ball, and so was sort of spraying passes everywhere. So for me, he was man of the match.
I'm going for our centre-back that also played his first game of the pre-season in Winston Reid. I know we were up against a poor team, but considering we'd been conceding left, right and centre in Austria in the last 2 games, He looked class. He was plucking the ball out of the air like there was no tomorrow. Oh, he reminded me of Rio Ferdinand in a way, the way he was just mopping everything up without the minimum of fuss. Now, if you enjoyed what you've seen here, make sure you like the video and subscribe to our channel here at Hammers Chat. We will be back tomorrow night or Monday with the preview of our Europa League game against a team I cannot remember who are playing from Slovenia. But thank you very much for watching.